Journey of a Fearless Female. I'm your host, Paola Rosser, and this week my guest is Shivany. She is known for finding the gold in your business and has helped hundreds of clients find their magic key to tap into the flow of money so it becomes predictable, reliable, and fun. She is a highly sought after women's empowerment coach, intuitive business mystic, master energy healer. She's a psychic, inspirational speaker, co-author of the book of inspiration for women by women, and has been featured on Self-Discovery Radio, New Human Living, and the Kat Kanavos TV Show. She's an expert on personal and spiritual transformation, supporting cutting-edge thought leaders and master healers in the global shift to claim their sovereignty using the Akashic Records as a grounded tool in order to get information on who you are at the soul level so you get your message out in a bigger way. She lives in far north Queensland, Australia, on top of a mountain in a tropical wonderland, working towards self-sufficiency and building a local community. When she is not on Zoom mentoring her clients, she's spotted frolicking with her Rhodesian Ridgeback Akash and Isis, the new puppy, on the beach. Everybody, please welcome Shivany. Hi, Shivany.
Hey, beautiful. So lovely meeting you. And thank you.
I am sick. I'm fighting a cold, but I did not want to cancel because she's calling in all the way from Australia, one of my favorite places in the world. I just recently went there for my 40th birthday. It's a magical place. So I'm so thankful to have you on the show. So tell us about your fearless journey.
Oh, dear. I think I never know where to start, but basically I grew up in Germany as a single child, and I made it a little bit more interesting because my dad was an atheist and my mother is a narcissist. If she makes it, she's almost 96 in January.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I was born open. So I had my invisible friends and I could hear, see, and I thought everybody could do that.
Really?
But I learned very quickly that not only most people weren't that open, but it also wasn't really wanted. Yeah. So I grew up basically believing I'm crazy. What's wrong with me? There has to be something wrong with me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I'm grateful that my way out was basically rebellion. And it actually, I think it saved my life, literally.
Yeah.
And
because I'm sure your dad was like not hearing you because he doesn't believe in anything, right? As an atheist. And then your mom, I don't know how she reacted to maybe her child saying, I see things or I hear things. What was her reaction like?
Well, I'll tell you what, she is actually very, very psychic, my mom.
Okay.
And scared, completely scared. And so she didn't want to know about it. Yeah. And she tried, like, in German, we would say she can hear the grass grow. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, she didn't want to know about it. It really scared her. And unfortunately, she's still incredibly scared.
Wow. So when did you realize that you had a gift? Like you thought everybody was seeing the same thing and hearing the same thing. When did you notice that you were the only one and no one else saw and heard the same things?
Oh gosh, probably around when I was at school age, probably 6, 7, because I remember even my very first school report said, yeah, 6, right, 5. No, I actually went to school earlier. And it basically said, I have too much fantasy and I'm too dreamy. So, yeah, look, I always felt different.
Okay.
I desperately tried to fit in.
Yeah.
Didn't work. But my intuition was still very intact. And I remember when I was 15, I made a ton of really powerful decisions. For example, I didn't want to get married. I didn't want to have children. I wanted to leave Germany, get me out of here.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, I did get married originally in order to stay in Australia. And we were married for 12 years.
Okay.
And we are actually still really good friends.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, I just knew from an early age that I needed to leave Germany. And I grew up in West Germany. But back then it was a very oppressing society. I
Yeah.
mean, for me, yeah. Very much what would the neighbors think. My mother would constantly watch the neighbors from the window.
Oh my
That's what
gosh.
you do, you know, that sort of.
Yeah.
And my dad was known. I grew up in a little town, so everybody knew me, of course. You know,
Hmm.
couldn't get away with anything. It would get back to my dad.
Yeah.
And yeah, and when I was 15, I basically learned about Australia. And apart from thinking the kangaroos are hopping around Sydney, I just had this affinity. I knew I had to at least visit Australia.
Okay.
And yeah, so yeah, and the rest, like for me, I felt I finally came home when I literally when I landed in Australia, in Perth, in
Uh-huh.
back in '82. It really was, oh my God, I'm home.
Oh.
Yeah, like that real.
How did you start to develop your gifts more? Like, did you start to connect with other spiritual teachers and mystics? Like, how did you start to develop or did you continue to hide your gifts for a while?
Um, in Germany, I basically hid it. Um, I traveled extensively, and the first time out of Germany, I basically traveled for a year and a half, and I went to India, Asia, uh, and I mean, back then, I met my first orange people. I don't know, the Bhagwan, Rajneesh people.
What does that mean for those of
Um,
us who don't know?
Oh my God, good question. Well, there was like in the 80s, there was a huge following by Guru. I
Okay.
mean, people would know them because they became famous, as in lots of corruption. He's the guy Osho who has like 100 Mercedes Benz.
Oh, okay. I think
Yeah,
I think I know who that
you
is. Yeah.
might have heard. But basically, I was interested in yoga, in meditation. I did rebirthing. I became a rebirth practitioner. So from a very early age, I really wanted to know, who am I? And
Yeah.
already when I was 14, I would actually write poetry about the eyes being the entry to the soul. Yeah, so
Okay.
somehow I knew, yeah, I mean, I came in that way because at 14, everybody was boy mad, and here I was writing poetry.
Right? Everyone's boy crazy, and you're over here writing about poems and the entry of the soul.
Exactly, exactly.
So,
Um,
so you got
yeah.
in touch with that guru, and that's how or it was somebody that was in that guru's entourage that like led you to start really opening up your mind to your powers, or how did that happen?
Look, I tell you what, I think it happened organically because I was just 22. And originally, I intended to travel with a girlfriend, and that was, worked on for quite a while. And she basically decided last minute not to come. And then
Oh,
I had
really?
yeah, it was pretty full on. Like she got her parents basically, bribed her and gave her an earful, and she decided not to come with me. And then I decided to go, which was scary, right? We're talking about 1981 as a
Yeah.
woman by myself, but I needed to go.
Uh-huh.
And that really was very powerful for me because when you travel by yourself, you need to act like in the present moment. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I needed to know, is that person trustworthy? Can I travel with these people? Yeah, like I had to really be present.
Yeah.
And that brought me back online, so to speak.
Oh,
And
okay.
I had a very, like early on, I had a very, very powerful experience. And remember, I didn't know anything really.
Uh-huh.
Um, I was in a little mini bus in Sri Lanka, and these buses, you could hail them and you could get out at any time.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, they're full of people and chickens and, your typical Asian bus.
Yes.
And I was basically on the bus, and we were probably 5 kilometers before I was supposed to get off.
Okay.
And I hear this voice literally yelling at me, "Get out now." And it was so real that I looked around the bus. It's like, who's talking to me? Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
this booming voice
Uh-huh.
and nothing untoward. And I had to hear the voice twice more. And,
Wow.
I'm 21. And in the end, it was literally like, whatever. It was that sort of attitude. Oh,
Yeah.
right. Anyway, I get off the bus and don't even think much of it. I hail the next bus. And that was before mobile phones, right?
Yeah.
And the next day, it's on the front page of the local newspaper. 2 kilometers further, the bus overturned, had an accident, overturned, lots of people, dead and injured. And
Wow.
that's when I really went, okay,
Yeah. I
I
have to
need to
listen to
listen.
this voice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah. And then I married stayed in Australia, um, learned about yoga. So that was I guess, my formal entry.
Yeah.
And the yoga I learned was Kundalini yoga, so working with energy, but also meditation. And it was very classical yoga.
Yeah.
So not just, the postures.
Uh-huh.
And I had huge awakenings.
Wow. What would you say? Because I watch TikToks a lot and I hear people who are like of Christian background saying that yoga is, demonic and you're doing all kinds of weird stuff that you shouldn't be doing. What would you say to someone who would say that, like that yoga is demonic or that you're doing weird positions and you're calling the wrong entities towards you? What would you say to someone who has that theory?
Mm. Well, I can't change anybody. I'm not here to convince anybody. Um, I did teach yoga to the Christian brothers in India,
Wow.
the Franciscan brothers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so certain Christian religions are actually embracing yoga.
Yeah.
And yoga, the word yoga is really to integrate or to connect or to yoke, to come together.
Yeah.
And all it means is you're bringing body, mind, spirit together.
Yes. I
Yeah.
personally love yoga. And I wish I could do it more, but I'm not that bendable. But
Doesn't
I also
matter.
love, yeah,
It's a
I
mind
also,
training
it's a
ultimately.
mind training. Yes. I love the meaning of namaste, which means my soul sees your soul, which is so beautiful, which is something that I teach my clients too, because I think it does. You start to get back into your body and your spirituality, and you start to realize that we are all interconnected. We're all experiencing the same, divine plan here, and we are all here to help each other. So how did you start getting into like finding people's magic key, and like tell us a little bit about the Akashic records? Like I'm always curious about this because I hear videos of this, but I don't know exactly what it is. So can you please explain
Mm-hmm.
to other people that are listening now?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, look, the Akashic comes later. Yeah, I basically added. Sorry, I said stop. the goddess of love. Normally she's quiet.
She wanted to
Um,
join in on the conversation.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, the Akashic came later. So for those of you who don't know what it is, the Bible actually makes a reference and calls it the Book of Life.
Oh,
And it's an energetic database of anything you've ever lived as a soul, but it's also tells you who you are at soul level. What are your divine gifts? What's your life lesson this time around? What's your soul specialization? And
yeah.
every living person has their own Akashic record. And,
Mm.
you know, especially for those of you who are wondering, you know, who am I? Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? The Akashic are a shortcut. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very clear. And then, of course, we have free will. Yeah, like I can give you the blueprint, but how you work with this is your own free will.
Mm. Yeah, I think since I was about 13 years old, I used to ask the same questions like, what am I doing here? What is my purpose? Why was I born? Like, why am I part of this family?
Yeah,
I was always
yeah,
asking those questions like, what is my purpose here? And I still, even though sometimes I feel like I know what my purpose is and I feel like I know what my soul's calling is, there are still days where I question, like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, how am I supposed to get there? Like, but I do believe that this universe is energy and we are energy beings and we can attract things to us. And we could fold the wavelengths of time, with quantum physics. It's like there's so much stuff that we don't know. And I'm always super curious because I feel like um, back in the day, we probably did know this stuff and all of this was like normal knowledge, but the Roman Catholic Church probably shut it down. And there are so many books in the Vatican that we're not even allowed to see. They have an entire basement full of records and stuff that we're not allowed to read or haven't been published. So there's got to be, some things that we don't know. And so I always tell people when they're like, no, that's not what the Bible says, or that's not what I was taught. I always think like, but you have to understand that you are being gatekept, like there are only so much information they're allowing us to know. And if there's a reason why your soul is calling you or pulling you towards something, like you were being pulled towards learning more about like being a mystic and energy healer and Akashic records, you were being pulled to that because, I believe that maybe that was your soul's calling, right?
yeah, yeah. And when you talk about soul's calling, a lot of people have this idea, so it's one thing, if I could just magically find, yeah. It's really a journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that you talk about fear and being fearless. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the journey is really to first of all notice what is your intuition and what is not, and
Yeah.
then we all have it. Okay, we all have our own divine guidance system. It's just that we are literally being um, so manipulated from
Yeah.
birth that this, it's not taught at school. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we are all have our own intuition, and
Yes.
it's so important now, especially to learn, yeah, to learn what is my way of experiencing my guidance. And the most important thing is, and I think that's where so many people are afraid, is the guidance is not necessarily logical. If
Yeah.
anything, it will not be logical. The
Yeah.
guidance will only come once, usually, and then you need to do it.
Yeah. I was just
Yeah.
talking to
And
my
you don't
husband,
know the next step. And so
right?
the mind is, of course, screaming blue murder because we're so used to wanting to have a 10-year plan or a manual, right?
Yeah.
With, of course, you need to be successful afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah, well, the soul doesn't care necessarily about success, although that will come if you listen to it. It's about experience and growth.
Yeah. I was
Yeah,
just talking to my husband about this earlier because we were talking about the whispers of the world or the nudges from the great I am, or the divine is constantly like pushing you towards something. And my husband and I talk about this all the time. Like we see numbers like 1111 or 333 or
yeah,
555. And we're always like, okay, spiritual guides, like, what is that supposed to mean? Like, that doesn't mean anything to me. Right. Like, where am I supposed to go? Like, we want, and I think all of us, we want like this auditory God to come from us. Like you got that in the van, you know, in that little, in the van when you were in India, where it was like, get off the bus. Like we all want that auditory voice that tells us, okay, now apply for this job or go out on a date with this guy or break up with this guy. You know, we want that auditory voice. But if we don't get the auditory voice, we do get whispers of the world. We do get nudges. And like I had a client just recently was complaining that she was like, I feel like I'm stuck in Groundhog Day. She completely said Groundhog's Day, which is a movie from 1993.
yeah.
And she's like, I don't know what to do. And I said, well, just keep doing the work. The answer will come to you. And I tell my clients to go for walks, to be out in nature, to make sure you put your feet on the ground to get grounding. And she went for a walk and she was listening to a book. And the book and the author literally said, if you're going through Groundhog's Day, make sure that you do exactly what he did, which is help. By the time he figured out how to get unstuck, it was just to help others, you know. And there's little things like that where it's not an auditory voice from God, but you'll get it from either a book or a YouTube video you're watching, or a friend that like just randomly calls you. Or there was one time where I knew my boyfriend was cheating on me before my husband, and I didn't have any evidence, but I was at work and I was watching a YouTube video, and a random clip came up on the YouTube video where it was like these like people that were kind of like stick figures, and they like went, and one of them broke the girl's heart. You could see the girl getting broken up with, and then she picks up her broken pieces, but then another guy comes and picks up her broken pieces. And then I was like, was that for me? That message is for me. And I looked back and the YouTube video was gone. Like, and I never found that YouTube video ever again. And so it's like these little things that happen to you, that the whispers of the world are there. And you may not be getting like an audible voice, but you are getting those nudges to move. And we all have, like you said, that intuition, that gut feeling, like your gut is your second brain. So we need to be open to like the answer, right? I think sometimes we're not open to the answer because it's not what we want to hear.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, we're so
Yeah, and I want to clarify I've only heard that particular voice twice in my lifetime. Okay, so, and I think that voice is when, well, the first time, if I would have stayed on the bus, I would have been injured or killed. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
so I also agree, you know, for me, I just know, and I have premonition, but some people need to go through their feelings and their emotions to get clear. Yeah. Or as you said, you see something and you get the nudge. Yeah. That's
Yeah. Oh
how
no.
we get divine intel, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So tell us how you would work with a client to find that magic key to help them like release that blockage that's like probably holding them back.
Mm. Yeah, so I've been trained in a particular way with a particular teacher, and she basically she channeled her own teaching, yeah, around the Akashic. And I say this because my system, and I didn't know that when I trained with her, is vastly different to anything else that's on the planet. Okay. Um, um, so I do, like, if I would typically, I mean, it depends, but so typically I work with a client for 6 months, could be
Okay.
longer, but 6 months if somebody wants to have coaching with the Akashic. So the very first reading that I do is actually a 3-week transformational process. So it's not just a psychic reading.
Yeah.
And in my system, you do this once. because what we're doing is, first of all, we look at who are you at soul level, what's your soul profile, but we also look at, okay, what is holding you back? Where's the karma? Where are the restrictions that you are not aware of consciously, but it does impact you this lifetime? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you created a vow of poverty 5 lifetimes ago, you have no idea you did that, but you will have problems with money in some shape
Yeah.
or form
You're
this
like, please
lifetime.
break that contract now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And that reading, like I do it in the privacy of my home, like I need particular um, information. And then I like it's really a labor of love
Yeah.
because there is no software for the Akashic, right? It's like a piecing bit by bit. I
Yeah.
write it all down and then I'll see the client for 90 minutes and they get specific clearing statements that they will do every day. And that is like what we're really doing is we're bringing your soul back to the point of origination. So back to love and light.
Yeah.
And with that, because we are clearing restrictions, yeah,
Yeah.
we are also elevating your vibration because everything is vibrational.
Yes.
Yeah. And so if your vibration is elevated, you will attract differently. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the first reading. And that is literally because like I clear on the level of the Akashic, the client clears through the mental, emotional into the physical.
Yeah.
And then I'm also looking at, okay, what is a new action step in the physical that you can take instead? Yeah. And that's when the whole pattern will be cleared. Yeah. We're going from the Akashic, then through the mental, emotional, physical. And then because we are in 3D, yeah,
Yeah.
also have to do different.
So how did
And
you start to figure out that this was actually working for clients? Like what made you think like, okay, this works? Like, cause I am an emotion code healer and like at first I was very skeptic of it. Like I have to tap into someone's subconscious mind. I'm like, does this really work? And after like 30 clients, I'm like, this really works. Like, how did you like see like a transformation? Like tell us some of your clients'
yeah,
transformation
look,
stories.
honestly, even now, yeah, because there's so many people are now in fear and money and restrictions. But even now, my clients double up to quadruple their income.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, and they're happier. Like what normally, I mean, it's a journey. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what norm because okay, that's one reading. Then the second reading, we look at okay, how are you wired to create?
Yeah.
Because yes, the law of attraction works absolutely, but what most people don't realize is that at soul level, how we go about creating the new is
Yeah.
different to anybody else. Like we are literally like snowflakes. Yeah. So we're also looking at okay. Like again, I'll give you an example. The world usually would tell us, okay, you need to be goal orientated. Yeah. What's
Yes.
the big hairy goal? Chunk it down, go for it. All right. So that's at soul level, you can also be process orientated. That means, yes, you have a goal, but you are more interested in experiencing yourself and the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the goal isn't that important. And the goal will not be, like if somebody is the opposite, like if they are goal orientated, then it's very much timeline, how much do you want to make, what do you want to experience, yeah. But if you're process orientated, it's more how who do I want to become? What
Yeah.
is my power word? What am I after? Is it freedom? Is it ease? Is it self-love?
Yeah.
And it's very different. And the people, when I tell them you're process orientated, quite often it's a sigh of relief, because again they're thinking, what's wrong with me? Why can't I find a
Yeah.
goal? Yeah.
Why can't I stick to a goal or stay with a goal?
Yeah. So that's the manifesting blueprint. Then we are looking at, okay, how does your soul group of origination and your divine gifts translate into business? What are your characteristics? What do you need to look out for? How are
Yeah.
you wired to create business? And then we have a business record, and then it gets interesting. So the client would say, okay, I want to make X amount of money, say, in 6 months' time, every month.
Uh-huh.
And then the first thing is I look at, okay, is it even possible? Yeah, because sometimes we are in wishful thinking,
Yeah.
meaning if you haven't earned, if you're earning, again, I'm making it up here, but say you're earning $2,000 a month. Yeah,
Yeah.
you just started your business, but you're telling me you want to make 20,000 in 6 months' time. Quite often that is a too huge vibrational jump.
Yeah.
But usually I check, is this goal actually feasible in the physical within 6 months?
Yeah.
So I get yes, then I get a percentage.
Are you
And
doing
then
like muscle testing to like figure this out?
I do everything with a pendulum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Um, and then, if it's business, it's okay. Where are you 100% aligned? Is it clients? Is it sales? Is it marketing? Is it joint ventures? And where are you not aligned? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's really going into the nitty gritty. Yeah. And more often than not, I take a lot away from my client, as in, a lot of people do everything, the Instagram and the Facebook and the emails. It's like,
Yeah, that's me. I'm
um,
doing
you,
everything. I'm doing it
you don't
all.
need to. Then we look at, okay, so what is aligned for you? Yeah,
Yeah.
at soul level. And then we go about, changing, shifting, adding, detracting, whatever in your business. And
Yeah.
usually people do less work and they make more money and it's
Wow.
more aligned. It's all about alignment.
Yeah, because
Because
we're
the
all energy
clients are
beings,
looking
right?
for you.
Yeah,
Sorry?
exactly. That's incredible. That's actually amazing. And more people need to like really find that magic key because a lot of us are running around like trying to figure it out, and we're doing it all wrong because we're not in alignment to our actual soul level, right? So, as we wrap up this episode, Shivani, what would be your nugget of wisdom for anyone who's listening right now?
What would be my wisdom?
Yeah, your nugget of wisdom.
My nugget of wisdom. Everything, no exception, starts from within. We are all vibrational in nature, and I swear, no matter what happens on the outside, and yes, it's harder, yeah, the stakes are higher because we are now in a very negative environment and political climate, yeah, lots of
Yeah.
fear. But you are, everybody, you are the listeners, you are the magical, incredible creator of your own life. Yeah, you
Yes.
are the master, you are the mistress, you are born that way.
Oh, I love
And
it.
and you can create what you want. You can.
Yes. Yes, you
But
can.
you, but sometimes, because the ego will say, I don't need help, and um, sometimes we need help.
Yeah.
And
I think
yeah,
the ego definitely wants to take control, but I like that when Wayne Dyer calls the ego edging God out. And so you're not allowing God, spirit, the divine to really like guide you. So where can my audience find you?
sure. So yeah, my website is my name. So it's shivany.com, Shivany inspirational.com. I've also got a free gift for you. I'm
Oh,
very
thank
excited
you.
because I'm passionate. Like, I really believe, if just imagine a world where nobody has any doubts in how to take the next steps because they're so aligned and connected to their own inner guidance system.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they trust it. Yeah, even if Joe Blow does something the opposite, imagine every single person, every single soul trusts their guidance system and acts on it. That's the
Yeah.
next step. And
What a
we would
different
have a
world we
better
live in.
world.
Yeah, we
Yeah, like
live in a
imagine,
different world.
imagine the world.
Yeah.
And that's the gift. It's really looking at intuition. How can it show up? How can you foster that? How can you tap into that power source
Oh,
that you have? Yeah, and
beautiful.
that's the gift.
And all the links are going to be in the show notes. Thank you again for listening. Thank you again for listening to Journey of a Fearless Female. I'm your host, Paola Rosser. If you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual mentor, you can book a free discovery call with me at www.fearlessfemale.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at fearlessfemale_coach, subscribe to my YouTube channel at fearlessfemale, or find me on TikTok. I'm under at paola.rosser. And if you love this episode, make sure you hit subscribe, share it with your friends, and leave a review. I read every single review, and I truly appreciate the time you spend writing it.